is up, guys? Lenny here. So, I wanted to kind of do this video and just for a second bring up my favorite movie of all time, Limitless. For those of you that have never watched Limitless before, first of all, I highly encourage you to watch it. In my opinion, it's a fantastic movie. I've literally seen it about 100 times, if not more. I literally watch it like every single weekend. I think it's a fantastic movie. I think it's extremely underrated. No one really talks about it. The most I hear people talk about is some of the science behind it, about whether or not we have access to 100% of our brain. When I do hear debates about it, kind of, if you haven't seen it, I'll get into it. But to kind of deviate early in the video, I think that the whole use of 100% of our brain kind of debate is misunderstood. And I don't want to get too deep into it, but some people, some research will go, well, we do use 100% of our brain. And some research goes, well, we kind of use 100% of our brain, but not really. I think the Limitless movie, I think people misinterpret what he meant by 100% of his brain. I do think that in real life, we certainly use 100% of our, more or less, what he's doing. He's accessing 100% of his brain. And I'll get into the plot in a second. But there was a cool scene when in the very beginning of the movie, he first takes the pill. In the movie, there's a pill, NZT, that he takes. And it gives him access to his brain. And it lets him kind of cross that threshold into the use of 100% of his brain. And so basically, he describes what it's like. And he sees, I think it was his landlord's wife or his landlord's girlfriend. She's basically harassing him, and she's just giving him an earful because he's late on his rent payments. And at this point, he's about to be homeless, and he sees a book in her little purse or her little book bag or whatever, and is able to deduce that she's in law school and kind of figure out what she needs to write about based on that book. And then he kind of questions himself. He goes, how do I know what that book is? Have I read that book? And he goes, no, back in college, there was this TA or something that I wanted to hook up with, and she had that book on her mantle or on her desk or on a table, wherever it was, and she was in law school. And I'm basically making those connections and going, well, if she had this book and she was in law school, then chances are maybe this lady, the landlord's wife or girlfriend, is reading that book because she's in law school. He kind of questions, how do I know that? Was it there the entire time? Was it just embedded into my subconscious? And now do I suddenly have the access because of NZT? And that's what I think the pill, that's my interpretation, that the pill gave him more access to the things he already knew. So he doesn't suddenly he doesn't know everything, which is what I think some people think happens. They think he becomes God. And the movie, I think, makes it very clear that you basically get enhanced from what you already know. You can't know things that you didn't already have any inclination to know before. And so basically getting into the main plot after that little sidetrack, there's a character, Eddie Morra. He basically stumbles across his ex-wife's brother, who used to be a drug dealer, but technically is still a drug dealer. He's an enhanced drug dealer, and he's selling this drug called NZT, which gives you that 100% access to your brain and lets you basically recall things that you've seen, or basically extrapolate and learn things at a faster rate based on what you already know. And in the movie, the guy makes it clear that depending on your base level intelligence, the pill will work better or worse. So if you basically were just dumb, like a moron, you can take NZT and you might be at about average or slightly higher than the average person. But if you are already a really high IQ person, you're going to be a super genius. You're going to be able to learn that much faster. I think the movie makes it pretty clear. So basically, he takes the pill. He becomes rich because he becomes so smart that he's able to make these crazy deductions with the stock market. Not investing, but trading. He's able to trade and predict the outcomes, and he teaches himself math. He says math becomes useful. He basically becomes a very highly intelligent, highly deductive, highly analytical person because of the drug, and it allows him to make money and live out a certain life. And there are some drawbacks with the drug itself, the way it affects you mentally and physically, And of course, a drug that powerful, that's so valuable, makes you the target of people who want the drug for themselves and for whatever reason can't get access to it because they don't know the source. And so that's more or less a basic summary of the movie. I didn't give too many details, but that's the very, very bare Cliff Notes version. But one of the reasons why I like the movie so much is because one of my core philosophies of life, and I think this applies to everyone, but it especially applies to me for what I want in my life, is the concept of eudaimonia. And so for anyone who's not familiar with eudaimonia, it's sort of an old Greek philosophy of basically the good life. It's the fulfilled life that I believe it was Socrates. He thought people would basically be happiest by living this type of life. And the core tenets of it was health, finances, social relationships, and ultimately that would lead to fulfillment. And I love the movie because he basically reaches all of those things in one swoop from getting that pill. He takes the pill, he becomes more aware, the awareness leads to him making more money, the finances. From that, he's able to become more social, and it leads to better relationships. And from that, he also kind of realizes that his health is a priority, and he becomes more healthy as a result of it overall. And so I think that touches on the whole health, finances, and social relationships, which leads to the fulfillment, because in the movie, he also realizes that all of those things he had been doing wasn't what he needed to do ultimately in the world to make an impact. And I don't want to spoil too much of it, but I highly recommend watching that movie. I think it's interesting. I think it has that core essence of eudaimonia built into it. And if you haven't watched it, I do recommend it. It's came out in like 2007, so you can probably find it at Walmart or something for like $5. I think it's on YouTube for like $2, but highly recommend it. Highly think you should watch it. Give it a try. Let me know what you think about it.